representing here today, whether you're the applicant, the owner, neighboring property owner, someone from the community, or someone else. So I will start with Steve Driehaus.
Thanks, David. I'm Steve Driehaus. I'm a friend of the owner, Morgello, and a former member of Congress and former state legislator.
Okay. So are you here as as an interested party, just as a friendship? Okay.
As an interested party and in support of the applicant.
Got it. Okay. Great. Welcome. Rod Sidliu. Mr. Sidliu, if you could unmute.
Okay, Rod Sidley here.
Could you spell your last name for me?
S is in Sam, Idley.
Okay, great. And how are you connected to the project, if at all?
I'm an architect. I've been working with the owner, More Diallo, on this site for a couple of years, and originally worked on the building that's behind this one and started work on this one.
Okay, great. Welcome. And Scott Kyle.
Scott Kyle, the applicant and architect representing Moore and the ownership group.
Great, welcome. And More Diallo, if you could unmute. Mr. Diallo, can you hear me? I need you to unmute.
Yes, my name is More Diallo, and I'm the owner of the building, and I'm a developer, the small one anyways, and we try to go ahead and make it better and beautiful down there. So
yeah, so Mr. Diallo, at this point, I just wanted to get everyone checked in. I understand that you're the owner, and I'll give you an opportunity here in just a minute to tell me more about the project.
Okay.
Lastly, sure. Lastly, we have Wes Menzel, who's here from the City Department of Planning and Engagement. Welcome, Wes.
Good morning.
All right. On the applicant owner side, are we expecting anyone else to join us here today?
No.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This is going to cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the October 16th, 2024 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZHUV240007. Purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, anyone who's associated with this project, working on this project, the applicant, the owner, I'll give you all an opportunity to tell me about the project, background you think is important, the specific relief that you're requesting, and of course, why you think I should grant that relief. You can orient that presentation however you'd like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's really up to you how you'd like to do that. I will then move to anyone from the public. And I'm not sure here if that includes Mr. Sidley or Mr. Driehaus. Mr. Sidley, are you associated with this project as the architect or specifically working on this project in any way?
This project has actually had two architects because it spanned such a long time. So I'm the original architect.
Okay, great. Sounds good. So I'll allow all four of you then to speak during the applicant's presentation. If there were anyone here from the public, a neighboring property owner, someone like that tries to join the meeting, we'll allow them to talk during that time if there is anyone here from the public. But if there's not, then I'll just move on to the to Wes Menzel from the planning department to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that application, or I'm sorry, respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. In the event of any defects with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from me fully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, The last thing I need to do here before we get started is to swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So I'm going to collectively do that right now with everyone who intends on testifying. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you're off mute, raise your right hand, and I'll need everyone to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Who's going to be taking the lead here on Tell Me About the Project?
I will do that.
Okay. Floor is yours.
540 Findlay is an existing two-family residence that is in the midst of ongoing improvements to potentially increase the square footage of each of the 2 units. It's a residential use within the manufacturing district. It existed prior to the current zoning. So the proposed expansion is of a facility that's a legally non-conforming use. The request is for a use variance to allow the residential, to allow the expansion. Essentially, the basis of the request is economic viability for the 2 rental units, improving them and increasing their rental value.
Okay. So to be clear, it's an existing or historically was a 2-family.
It
The
was
property.
built as a 2-family, correct?
Gotcha. Okay. And the proposal is to just simply expand the square footage of that 2-family.
Correct.
But-
One of the units, a portion of the increase of square footage is the addition of a partial 3rd floor. But
Okay, but remain
at its
2
core,
unit.
it's an increase in square footage for each unit.
Got it. Okay. What's its current use? Is it vacant?
Well, it's vacant at the moment because it's under construction, but it's been 2-family residential occupied up until construction started.
Okay. Great. Anything else you'd like to tell me about the project?
I think at the moment I keep it simple on my side.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
let the
Good.
rest step
Sure.
up.
Okay. Anyone else?
I can take it.
Okay.
I
Sure.
mean, yes, 540 used to be a 2-family, like Scott said, and we used to have tenants there, and the building was old and not meeting the regular city standard for renting, so we had to remodel it, get the tenants out and remodel it, and so it was a 2-family, 1 efficiency, and the 2 bedrooms. And then when we applied, so they grant us a permit to rehab it, which is we start doing it. And then when we look at it the back, there was kind of like a slope. So the other one is kind of tall, and the back, the building where the windows is going to be for the 2nd floor, it is empty. So it doesn't look right, and it doesn't look things. And for hazards, to eliminate the hazard, I decided that I talk to Rad, and we see if we can go ahead and add it and close it off and make it expanded for the efficiency for them to access, the 2nd level too. So that's why we take that step to do it, because it's going to be, hazard problems and safety concern for that to just leave it as, what they grant us before.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Anyone else want to say anything about the project before I ask a couple more questions?
Well, this is Rod Sidley. I could make some comments.
Sure.
So from the zoning point of view, none of us ever asked for this site. This is an existing residential site with two buildings on the same lot in a non-conforming use in a manufacturing district. So it's kind of like a zoning nightmare from the beginning, not only for us, but probably for the zoning administrators too. Moore bought the buildings and they were occupied. And the first thing we did was remodel this building behind and turn that into a thoroughly modern rental structure. And I wanted to point out that, so there's the building behind and then this corner building that we're talking about now, but there's also a residential building right next door that seems to be in the process of being rehabbed as well. So it's a little enclave of residential area in there. When we began working on it, we discovered some structural deficiencies in this building and we had to stop work, and we filed an engineering change to pour some new footings where there were none. So instead of trying to barrel through and conceal the fact that it wasn't built right, we wanted to try to build it right. So last January, we applied for an engineering change for new footings. And it literally took to March for anyone to even review the engineering change. So we've had a history of kind of like this not getting, I don't know how to put it exactly, but not getting review of our project on a timely basis. So we've always been kind of behind, just waiting to work and waiting to work and waiting to work. Anyway, they did approve the engineering change. We poured the new footings, and as we were working on this, that's when Mr. Diallo asked us to look at the option of adding to the building. At that time, I had retired and closed up my office, so I was no longer doing drawings, and I encouraged Scott Kyle to collaborate with us on this, and that's how he got involved. So I think what I wanted to point out was, with Moore's effect on this corner, he's taken a pretty much dilapidated corner that was probably slated for well, I would say for demolition, but the problem is because of the way the zoning ordinance is written and everything, you really couldn't rebuild anything back on here short of manufacturing. So basically he was kind of stuck with the buildings as they were, and we had to deal with what was there. So I think
I was actually going to dig in a little bit on, I think on your last point. I mean, one of the standards I have to look at here is, can the property be put to any economically viable use under any of the permitted uses in the MG zoning district?
And it's an odd shaped property, actually not very big. And again, it's a manufacturing district. I did not review all of the potential uses in the manufacturing district. There might be some permitted uses. I know there's a store across the street, some things like that. But if we wanted to, for example, if we wanted to do something like a mercantile or business occupancy, we would probably have a problem providing enough parking spaces because the site isn't big enough to provide a building and parking. In my opinion, there is no economically viable use for this site short of just rehabbing it and making it continue what it has been historically.
Additionally, as it was mentioned, there's a residential property directly east. So there's the potential to take this property and combine it with others to get a larger building that might fit in with the zoning would be problematic over time until those properties became available.
But would that be okay? Would that be economically viable even? If
I wouldn't say it would be.
Okay, great. Mr. Driehaus, want to give you an opportunity to weigh in here.
Can I just make one last point?
Sure.
With the non-conforming, with what we're proposing to do, we're not making the non-conforming situation any worse than it already was. We're still a two-family. There are no setbacks or anything like that we're encroaching on that would impact it. So the only non-conforming aspect of this is the fact that it's residential in a manufacturing zone, and we're not actually changing that in any way. Thank you.
Yeah, David, I just wanted to speak to this from a public policy perspective. I've known Moore since he was a little kid, actually. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Senegal, and I lived with his family. So Moore is like a brother to me. And, he's been what, all successful immigrants in the United States should be. He's been a good citizen. He's opened up businesses, very successful businesses. He pays his taxes. He does the right thing as is expected of him. He told me about this property that he's redeveloping. I went down and I toured the property. I saw the one behind it, which is very, very well done, very attractive property. And then looked at this building, and we went to this building and checked it out. And I saw, the changes that are taking place. They're not expanding the footprint, but just moving it up, just building up to increase the number of, not the number of units, but the number of bedrooms available within those units. And from a public policy perspective, this is exactly the type of behavior we should be encouraging, because we talk time and time again at City Hall about the housing crisis that we have, both home ownership as well as rental, especially low income housing. So by expanding this, he's supporting this public policy, which City Council is very, very much in favor of. In addition to that, it's in the West End. And if you go back to the whole argument that was made during FC Cincinnati's, purchase of that land and building the stadium, Council promised over and over again that they were going to retain the integrity of the community. They were going to retain housing and support housing in the community. And now it seems as if FC Cincinnati is trying to expand its footprint even more, but the city promised the residents of the West End that they would invest in housing. This is an investment in housing, and it's filling a critical need from a public policy perspective. I've had several conversations with members of both the Planning Commission and City Council. They don't understand why this wouldn't be allowed to happen. They strongly encourage it. And I hope that the city administration would facilitate efforts like this. Did Moore have permission to go up, when they were doing the renovation? No, he didn't. And he should have sought permission prior to doing that. But having done it, this is a perfectly permissible use because it's already a non-conforming structure. It fits under the public policy that City Council has advocated over and over again as being the highest priority in our city. So I think we should applaud efforts like this and not try to delay them, certainly not force him to take it apart, but work with the developer as much as possible to bring this to fruition and expand housing opportunities in the West End for low-income families.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Treehouse. All right, anyone else have anything to say about the project before we move on to the planning department? Wes?
Good morning. As you all see in my staff report, or the planning department staff report, we did recommend approval of this. The project does stay within the existing footprint of the existing building and extends upward, as was mentioned, and expands the capacity of the units. The number of units stays the same, but they reconfigured the interior space to make it, more attractive and larger with additional bedrooms, as was mentioned. And the design of it, seems compatible with the existing building and the abutting buildings. And as Mr. Sidley mentioned, there is a little residential enclave there. So, unfortunately, the zoning code doesn't allow the residential use in the manufacturing zones. That's maybe something that needs to be looked at, as Mr. Driehaus mentioned. I just would like to add a little bit more background, though, that the original permit coming in 2022 is for renovation, or I'm sorry, interior renovation of the existing 2 units, which was approved. But then they actually started expanding the size of the units. They submitted an engineering change with the expansion of the building and such. And so that's when like we realized that something was being proposed that wasn't compatible or whatever. So that's where eventually they submitted the variance application, but their construction of the expansion occurred without the permit, as you can see in the Google Street View photo before this permit, the 2024 permit was submitted. I'm not disagreeing with anything else that was said. I just wanted to provide a little more background on that. So, but we did ultimately recommend yes on the request. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Wes. Um,
Can I ask a quick question?
yeah, so I was going to turn it back over to applicant owner side here and to respond to anything Wes said, or ask a question if you'd like.
Was the staff report released?
Yes, it was posted on September 27th.
We upload it to the portal for this project, but we don't really send it out via email necessarily, but
Okay, my bad.
I can send you a copy of it right now.
That'd be great. The last variance process I went through, it was sent by email, so I mistakenly was waiting.
Gotcha. Okay, well, while he's doing that, would anyone like to make any other statements in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today? Okay, all right, well, let's leave it at that then. So in Mr. Kyle, I understand Wes is sending you that report now. My understanding is that every applicant and owner does get emails and to the project docs file on KGIS and that they're able to access that, and that's routine. Did that not happen here?
I'm 99% sure it didn't happen for this variance process.
Okay, well, that's something we can.
I'll look
we can
back through my email, make sure I didn't miss something. So I don't want to just, make it.
Might have gone to your junk email or something like that, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I want to make sure that didn't happen. That doesn't typically happen to me. I stay on top of these kinds of details. So,
Yeah.
But certainly, I'm pretty sure I didn't receive anything.
Okay, well, I'll let Wes, if you don't mind, just sending that over to him.
it's already sent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. As far as the project goes, I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. And based on that and based on the testimony that I've heard here today, which I agree with, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this particular application. And so I am going to approve the requested relief. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that that typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll try to get that out to you as quickly as possible. I have a little bit of a queue that I'm working through right now. But as soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that email, Wes will be CC'd on that email as well. Wes can approve the zoning permitting on his end and you guys can take the next steps. Any questions about that process at all or the approval? Okay, great. Well, if you do in the meantime, feel free to reach out, or if you just want a status update on where I'm at with the decision, again, feel free to reach out. Happy to provide that to you. Let's see, unless there are any other questions, I think that's it. And Mr. Kyle, if you want to connect, we can try and troubleshoot and make sure that project docs KGIS invite was sent to you.
Okay.
Or if it wasn't, why it wasn't. I'm happy to try and troubleshoot that with you offline. But
good.
for now,
All
I
good.
think that's
Thank
it. Okay, great. Well, hope you all have a wonderful day. Good luck on the project. Hope the rest goes smoothly. And yeah, thank you all for being here.
Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day. We're adjourned.